Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow, this is really cool.
This is nice.
Whoa, this is really cool.
Whoa, this is really, really cool.
That's cool. Is that new?
That's crazy.
That's cool.
Ooh, that's sexy.
Oh, you finally went to this version. Okay.
Yeah, the user interface, it looks great.
Nice. That would help a lot.
Can I move this here? Oh, I can. Oh, beautiful.
I love the new features that you've added.
I really like the new layout.
I loved working with all the little the user flow thing.
And it's definitely going to make it a lot easier to use.
It's a great experience.
We have, and this is the next game changer here.
No, but it's pretty dang polished though.
Beautiful.
We're here. Finally, it's about time. Thank you, everyone, for hopping on the call today. It's 4.0 launch day. It's very exciting. It's big news for us. You have no idea how much work and time it actually took to get here behind the scenes. I know for some of you, it might felt like, oh, like 4.0 is coming out and just like announced like a month ago, and just an obscene amount of work. We did not use ChatGPT for a lot of the coding. And we did it the old-fashioned way, and that way takes time. So no vibe coding, just vibe writing maybe. But anyway, I'm really excited. I've been like in anticipation of today for months. And I have to, credit goes out to my team. We have Greg and Alicia around here somewhere, and people overseas, and all the people that I bothered in Slack channels from other products, and obviously huge kudos goes out to our customers for, number one, being incredibly patient, and especially those customers that assisted us in the development process. We did so much user testing ahead of 4.0. Because we really wanted it to actually be usable when it launched, and we wanted to make sure that people understood how it worked, and we wanted to find all of the possible issues and make it the best marketing automation experience currently available. And I think we did that. Seriously, I think ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, Mautic, Fluent CRM, none of them come close. I truly believe that, and I'm really excited, and I have my fire. I live in Canada, so it's cold, and I have my fireplace on. So I'm just gonna pop over and turn that off. 1 second. All right, we're good. And then I'm gonna have a sip of my coffee just to keep everybody in anticipation. Okay. So 4.0, big update, major change for Groundhogg. If you're new to Groundhogg, right, and maybe this is your first experience with us, you might not realize how significant this is. But if you've been with Groundhogg for a while, and I see some of our customers that I know by name at this point in the chat here, thanks guys for showing up. I appreciate all of the help and the champions that you've been. Thank you so much for that. They'll understand how significant this is, and I can tell that they're excited. So in 4.0, I'm just going to talk for a little bit, and then we're going to do demonstrations, and we're going to go through everything. So sit tight. Groundhogg used to have what's called the funnel builder. And this was a linear flow of steps like forms and emails and timers. And it was all in this row. It was very clean. It was very simple. It was very straightforward. And that got us through 8 years. Can you believe it? 8 years, basically. And I really liked it. Not everybody else did. That's okay. I thought it worked really, really well. But time moves on, and needs get, needs become more sophisticated, and Groundhogg is so powerful outside of the marketing automation component with filters and the email builder and the CRM, and there's just so much that we can do with Groundhogg that the funnel builder in its current format felt limiting. And so we wanted to bring it up to basically the same level that the rest of the product is at in terms of power and sophistication. And so we've renamed funnels to flows. So we're saying goodbye to funnels. We're saying hello to flows. Which, if you don't like that name, too bad. Everybody voted for it in the Facebook group. So that's what we're going with now. We're going with flows. I didn't pick that out of the hat. It was voted on. So no one could be mad at me. So flows is now our marketing automation tool. It includes new, very, very cool things like logic steps, which I'm going to dig into. It's got branching. It's got lots of cool other little features. And the editor got a huge, massive improvement. You're going to be really excited when I show it to you. We've also renamed benchmarks to triggers. So benchmarks are like, when people click a link or they submit a form or they buy something, a tag is applied, right? The benchmark, I'll be honest with you. The reason we called it benchmarks like 8 years ago is because I wanted to be different. And sometimes different is better than better. Sometimes, I guess, is the operative word there. And we decided to rename it to triggers to be in line with the flows sort of terminology, and also just bring it in line with the marketing automation industry at large. A lot of our new user acquisition comes from ActiveCampaign, from HubSpot, from Fluent CRM, and they all use triggers, right? And so we want Groundhogg to be immediately understandable and recognizable if you're coming from platforms like that. So we're saying goodbye to benchmarks, wave goodbye, and we're saying hello to triggers. Just for all of our current existing customers that are on this call, everything in Groundhogg gets updated automatically. Everything is backwards compatible. None of the actual functionality has changed significantly enough to do any breaking changes. So everything is ready to go. So there's no worries there. It's just a name change as far as you're concerned. Okay. What else we got? This is a huge release. We updated. Let me pull up the list of things, and I'll just read off to you like all of the different plugins that we pushed updates for this morning. So obviously Groundhogg 4.0 went out. 4.0 for the advanced features add-on went out. Conditional logic update went out. The birthday add-on, the WooCommerce integration, the easy to download integration, the SMS add-on, the Twilio integration, company social proof pipeline contracts. All of that went out this morning together. I was up late last night making sure all the releases were prepared and ready to ship out. New funnel templates, I guess I can't call them funnels anymore. And I've been struggling with that. I'm like writing documentation. I keep calling things funnels. They're flows now. So new flow templates are now available in the library when creating flows for the first time. It's very, 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 very exciting. So without further ado, I think I'm going to just start sharing my screen. And we'll start walking through some of the new stuff. If you're ready for that, go into the comments and say, I'm ready. We got Garrett, we got Kenneth, we got Mike, we got Greg. Charles is here. Hey, Charles. We got Michael, we got Eduardo, Mateo. We got Leonardo. We got lots of people who are part of the user testing, so that's awesome. Thanks, you guys, for being here. So exciting. All right. Joey's ready. Zane's ready. That's awesome, guys. All right. Share screen. Moment of truth. All right. So, Groundhogg 4.0. In the menu, instead of funnels, we now have flows, like I mentioned. Go ahead and open that. All of our icons have been redesigned. So you'll notice these color-coded icons. Actions are green, triggers are orange, and logic is purple. And you'll see some of the logic implementation soon enough. So everything's got this color coding. We have these nice previews now in the flows as well. So you can see the preview. So you can kind of see as you're browsing, you know, what's in what. I find this really helpful if I have like a bunch of like similarly named flows because I'm lazy and I don't name things properly. I can actually just come here and see, oh, I'm looking for this specific form. Oh, there it is. So that's kind of nice. If I go ahead and click add new here, this is the new add flow screen. And here are our flow templates. And like I mentioned, we have new flow templates to choose from. So part of the new templates is you're going to see previews here as well now. So you can have a preview of what you're actually importing from the library. We're going to be adding more flow templates to here. So a bunch of the flow templates that used to be, or a bunch of the old funnel templates that used to be available have been made unavailable now. And so we have to go back and we have to recreate the flow templates for like WooCommerce and easy to downloads and some of the other e-commerce stuff. So that's pending. That's coming soon, like literally in like the next few days. So if you're missing that, don't worry, it's going to show up. If you have old funnel templates, so funnel templates from any 3.0 version, you can still import those, and you can import those here, import them the exact same way that you would import a funnel. Everything is backwards compatible, so there are no breaking changes in between 3 and 4, version 3 and version 4. So you're welcome. That was also a lot of work. If you're looking to start a funnel from scratch, that's up here. And you can also filter by like use case. So we have different couple, or you can see that there's use cases here. So like feedback, nurture, engagement. So you can filter the flow template library now. So that's kind of cool. I like that. And you can also search. So if you're looking for like the contact form, you can just search contact and that'll bring up the available flow templates for that. So I think that's pretty cool. But I'm going to start from scratch. You'll immediately be brought to the new flow editor and you'll be prompted to name your flows. Sometimes people forget to name things and then they just have a bunch of flows to, or they'll just rename a bunch of their flows or have a bunch of their flows be named the same thing. I was up till 2 a.m. last night. So if I'm talking in circles, just let me know in the comments. So we're going to name our flow. And we're going to name it, I don't know. My new flow is a good enough name for now. We're going to name it my new flow. Again, if you're just logging in now for the first time, like I see Akono is, once you update to Groundhogg 4.0 in WordPress, if you're coming from a previous 3.x version, all of the updates are automatic and taken care of for you. You have to do nothing, everything. If you update to Groundhogg 4.0 and then do nothing else, your flows, not funnels, your funnels that are now flows will be automatically converted and will work exactly as when you left them. Everything is backwards compatible, so you have to do no work except for update. So we are now in the flow editor. You notice a couple things. We now use the entire width of the screen for the flow canvas. You'll also notice that in the header, we've got some new stuff. So we've got undo and redo. So that's really fun. So if you make delete a step, or if you make a change to a step, or you move something around that you didn't actually mean to, don't worry, you can just undo. So that's pretty cool. That wasn't there before. That was also a lot of work to do. So you're welcome. We've also done away with the status toggle. So there used to be a status toggle there. That's gone. Now we have an activate, deactivate, and publish changes button. And the actual publish flow for flows is very cool. So you can actually make changes to active flows without those changes becoming live and impacting contacts that are running through the flow at the moment. So that's very cool. We've got some new stuff here. I'll go to that, like keyboard shortcuts when you're editing stuff. We've got our panel here that pops out from the side. I really like this UX. And these are all our new icons. So what's new here is obviously the logic stuff, which I'm going to get to. I know I'm just keeping you in anticipation. But we've got all these new beautiful icons. Everything's color coded, so it should be relatively straightforward to like figure everything out. But let's just start creating something. Let's start adding stuff. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the little plus icon that's in the flow. And immediately it's going to bring open the add step panel. And we have some stuff that's familiar, some stuff that's new. So we've got like our web form, our page visit triggers. Again, this is renamed triggers now. It's not benchmarks anymore. So we've got our web form trigger, our link click trigger, page visit trigger, tag applied, tag removed. This used to be called email confirmed. Now it's called opt-in status is confirmed. That's more indicative of what it actually does. Tag, task completed, field change. So most of this is familiar to you. So let's go ahead and let's start a funnel with a web form. And you'll notice that I didn't have to drag. I could just click now. So drag is still supported. If you want to do drag, you can still do that. But now you can just click and add, and that's very cool. So I like that a lot. So if we go ahead and click, boom, just like that, we can drag in, or you can just click and that adds too. And so I like that user experience a lot as well. I think it's a lot faster. So we're going to add a web form, and then I can click on the little add icon, and then we'll add maybe a delay timer. And then you'll notice that as you're adding, the plus icon remains highlighted. And so I don't even have to go back and click again. I can just add email, add timer, add email, and I can just build out my flow that way. So that's very cool. I like that a lot. And you'll notice that there's plus icons in between each of the steps, and they're all connected with this beautiful green line. So that's very nice. You'll also notice at the top next to the web form, you'll see that there is an additional plus icon. And so what that allows us to do is we can add adjacent triggers as or conditions. You could do this in Groundhogg 3, but what's different now is that you can add subflows to those triggers. And so these are actions and stuff that run only for that specific trigger. And this is new. So if I wanted to send an admin notification only for when the web form trigger is done, right? So only when they submit the web form, I'm going to send a admin notification to somebody. And then it's going to go to the timer, and then the email, then the timer, then the email. But if they enter through the tag applied trigger instead, then they're not going to do the admin notification, and they're just going to go to the timer and the email and so on and so forth. And that's very cool. So you can probably already imagine some use cases where this might be beneficial. So if you have multiple entry triggers into a flow, you can change basically like the initial steps that they go through depending on how they get in. So if you want to do admin notifications or manage tags or stuff like that. I am going to be answering questions basically as we're going through this. So if you have a question, go ahead and pop in the comments. I have a question from Leonardo who asks, let's show this. Is the text of the flows and actions in the translation file available? This is something I forgot to check. So the Groundhogg did ship with an updated POT file. It did not ship with updated translation files for all of the languages. Simply didn't have enough time to do that for the deadline. But it did ship with an updated POT file. So if you wanted to update your existing translations with new terminology, more than welcome to go for that. We also have a question from Garrett. The subflows, is this unique from GH or do other tools have this? So some other tools do, some of them don't. It really depends. I think Kit does this. I think Active Campaign might. I didn't check. But based on my experience of using all of the various different tools, this is the easiest one to configure it. So this is the most straightforward implementation of this without sacrificing power. That's going to be my answer for Garrett. And also to answer Akono's question from earlier, do you have to convert your existing funnels? No. As soon as you update to 4.0, all of your funnels will be converted to flows and will work exactly as they had been previously and will not break anything. There are no breaking changes between Groundhogg 3 and Groundhogg 4. Everything is backwards compatible. You can even import your old templates into Groundhogg 4. So you're welcome for that. Okay. let's go ahead and continue on with building our flow. So as I've been going through this, I'm going to just demonstrate the undo feature. So we can just go ahead and undo, and you'll notice that, oh, stuff is disappearing, and we can do redo. How cool is that? That's pretty awesome. I love that. That was so hard. You have no idea. That was an incredible. This is a testament to our team's ability to create stuff. Unlike other WordPress plugins, this update should not break anything. Of course, we always encourage our customers to take backups of their site before any major changes, and this is what I would qualify as a major change. But there's not a ton of changes to the database that have been made. And once those changes are made, they're pretty few and far between, and it's all automatic. So there should be no breaks. Obviously, if your website has some weird stuff on it, then we can't always guarantee that there's no weirdness that happens. But it should not break anything. We tested this. We put 4.0 through the ringer. I've been running it on our live productions. I like to make sure that our stuff works before it goes out. And so we've been running this on Groundhogg.io on our production site for maybe 3 weeks, and we found some issues that way. And so we've been running it, and then also we've been practicing. We've been going through okay, we're going to upgrade this site to 4.0. We're going to upgrade this kind of site to 4.0, and we're going to make sure that there's no potential issues there. So it should not, but better safe than sorry. Take it back up first. I hope that answers your question. Yes, we always encourage backups before any major change. Okay. So back here, I'm going to keep going with the flow stuff. So this is cool. So this is branching from between triggers. So you can use triggers. You can also branch from triggers later in the flow as well. So let's say we wanted to put 2 adjacent tag triggers here. So if a tag is applied at any point, then go here. Or if a tag is removed at any point, go this way. And you can add your subflows to send different emails depending on this. One possible use case, I'll demonstrate maybe a proper use case, because that might be interesting. So let's go ahead and delete this. So when you're deleting anything that has subflows, so either logic or triggers, and again, we're going to show you the logic, I promise. It will also delete any of the substeps that belong in that branch. So anything with a branch, when you delete it, the stuff that's in it gets deleted as well. So let's say we have an email, and we're going to create an email. And I know that, so it's so funny. As we were doing user testing, we've had one customer, his name is Sasha, who has been very vocal about having a simpler start from scratch email template. And he let me know that he would not be on this live stream to see that we listened to him. But if Sasha watches the replay of this eventually, we listened to you, and now we have a simpler start from scratch template. So you're welcome for that, Sasha, when you see this eventually. So let's say we got 3 buttons here as a survey. This is going to be a really rudimentary example. But we'll go ahead and publish that. So this is our survey email. We got 3 buttons, and we want to send or do different things based on which button that they click. So what we're going to do is we're going to create 3 link clicks that are adjacent. Just like that. And you can also scroll left and right if you're using the shift key. And we are going to apply a tag based on which link they click. And so we can take this link, copy the link, put it in the button, just like that. And then we'll copy this link, and we'll do the same thing. And then we'll copy this link. And there we go. So now, depending which link they click in the email, they will travel down one of these 3 branches. And I think that's pretty cool. So there's some real actual practical use cases. This is a rudimentary one, but there's some practical use cases for stuff like this. So that's branching with triggers. Very exciting. Who wants to see logic? I think everybody does. But before we do, Mateo asks, is it possible among the actions that occur automatically to also send an email to an address different from the person who filled out a form? For example, in the booking calendar, there can be guests, can be sent for information, but currently only an email can be sent to the user who made the appointment reservation. I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest. Groundhogg does so much that even I don't know everything. I have to like go look at, like, people ask me questions. I have to like go look at code, be like, do we do that? Like, is that in the documentation? I don't remember. We're rewriting all of our documentation, obviously, because 4.0 is such a huge change. So AI is going to be soon delivering our documentation to us. I've been seeing other people do that, and I'm like, we got to do that too. So maybe that will answer that question. I'm gonna go with the way that I'm thinking of, Mateo, is if you go into an email and you click on advanced, you can actually add custom headers, and you could put like CC here and then CC an email address, and that could be like a custom field. So if you're like have a custom email or something, like this is something that you could do theoretically. You could also do BCC here as well. So there's some options there. So that might be something to consider. So that's gonna be my answer to the question for now. But we're gonna keep on track with 4.0, and I am going to show you logic. Where do I want to do that? I want to do that right here. Logic. So this is the new logic stuff. Okay, this is the branching, and among other things. And there's really cool stuff in here. So we've got yes, no. This is included in the free distribution of Groundhogg. Everything else is not. Okay. So if you're paying for Groundhogg, then you get all of this. If you're not, then you get the yes, no. So you should upgrade, and you should give us money, because this was a lot of work. And so you should pay to get the rest of this, because it's all very cool. Okay. Okay. That's my pitch. So we've got yes, no. We've got multi-branching, which is basically just yes, no on steroids. We've got split testing. Everybody say awesome. We've got split testing, because that's awesome. Literally so many people asked for this, and so many people, and we've delivered it. So you should be thankful. Please let us know that you're grateful in the comments. We need the validation, because it was a lot of work. We've got random distribution. There's some unique use cases for this. We've got looping, we've got skipping, we've got stuff that stops flows, and we have this thing called the smart date sequence. This is very, very powerful, but it's really hard to explain in like a little blurb in the tooltips. So we're gonna explain it in a little bit. But let's run through each of these. So let's start with yes, no. Ooh, look at that. Look at that yes line. Look at that no line. Doesn't that just look pretty? Like, it looks pretty. Like, I think it's beautiful. Anyway, so how does this work? So you click on it, and we got filters. Filters, you should be familiar with this by now. If you're a previously existing customer, you should be familiar with this now. If you're new to Groundhogg, then you might not know this. But basically, we use like these search filters everywhere. These are the same search filters that you get just on the contact screen. So these are the same search filters that you just get on the contact screen. And we use these everywhere. These are super powerful, basically like conditional logic system. You can filter basically on anything. If you have e-commerce integrations like WooCommerce, you can filter on WooCommerce stuff. If you've got Lifter LMS or LearnDash, you can filter on LMS stuff. If you've got GiveWP, you can filter on GiveWP stuff. So you can basically filter on anything in here, and that's awesome. So if we wanted to say the most simplest of conditions, which is if they have a tag, go one way. So let's say if they're a customer, then go down the yes. If they're not a customer, or if they don't have the customer tag, then they're going to go down the no branch. And so we can send here a customer email, and then we will send a lead email. So this would be customer email, and then this would be lead email. Go ahead and close that. So there we go. Tags includes customer. If they do, they get customer email. If no, they get their lead email. Everybody say that's cool, because it is. Eduardo, is like an if and else no. Yes. I'm gonna go with yes. Al asks, were there any changes to the API? No, there were no changes to the API. At least no breaking changes to the API. So we renamed funnels to flows. That does not change anything in the code base except the name. So the API endpoints all remain the same. All the keys all remain the same. All the IDs all remain the same. So there are no breaking changes to the API or the code base because of the name changes. Basically, the name changes in the UI only to maintain like backwards compatibility and technical debt and all of that stuff. But we did change the name, but the API remains the same. Thank you, Leonardo. Split testing really is a game changer. Thank you for saying so. I appreciate everybody saying that this is cool and listening to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. It was a lot of work to get to this point. I think this has cost many months to accomplish, and it did, Garrett. And it did, and we're here, and it works. Isn't that incredible? It actually works. We've been testing it thoroughly, and it works, and it's awesome. And you should go build stuff with it because that's what we made it for. You know, like people like products like launch stuff and it looks pretty, but it doesn't work all the time. This works, and so that's awesome. So go build stuff with it. Okay, so this moving back to this, and I'm gonna stop having a self-congratulatory fest for a moment, and we're gonna get back to actually demoing stuff. So obviously, so this is the yes no, very 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 powerful. Let's go ahead and let's look at the multi-branch, which is that on steroids. So yes no is in free. Everything else is paid. So we're in paid territory now. So basically for this one, you'll notice that there's 3 branches here, but you don't have to limit yourself to that. We can add as many branches as we want. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 branches. So if you got 7 tags, you can send them down 7 different branches. If you've got 7 different options of a custom field, you can then send them down 7 different branches. If you've got 7 different products that you want to see if people purchase or not, you can send down 7 different branches, or 8, or 9, or 3, or 5, or 6, or whatever. And you set the conditions for each branch individually. So I can say if we're going to go down the customer branch, which we can name them too, and those show up in the flow, so you can see customer here, so we can sort of keep track and visualize that in the flow. And we can say tags includes customer. And there we go. There's our customer branch. And then this is going to be our lead branch, and leads are just people without the customer tag. So we can say tags excludes the customer tag. So leads are people without the customer tag. And so we get, I'm going to show you some, I'm going to tangent for a real quick second. You can copy and paste steps. Okay. Watch. We're going to click on a step. Control C. You're going to literally see a little thing, step copied. We're going to come here. We're going to click on where we want to add. Control V. And you might have to click allow. Boom. Customer email. No dragging, no dropping. And you can copy and paste between funnels. Flows, not funnels. You can copy and paste. You can copy and paste between flows. So if you've got stuff in a flow and you're like, I want that over in that flow, you can copy it from one to the other. Now that's cool. And if you copy, so let's say you can copy the tags includes customers logic node here. It will also bring with it all of the stuff inside. So stuff in all of the branches and any of the nested branches as well. Did I mention you can do nested branching? You can put conditions in branches. There's so much stuff. It's so cool. All right, we'll get there. We'll get there in a second. All right, back to this though. So we're gonna take our lead email here, and we're gonna paste that here. So there we go. So we can copy that down there. And then you can obviously go and you can make the rest of these if you want. I'm just going to delete them for now because I have nothing to put in them. So we're going to delete these branches. You'll also notice that an else branch is added automatically. So for any contacts that don't match any of the filters, those people will automatically go down the else branch. And if there's nothing in it, then they're just going to continue on the funnel, the flow. So hard. It's been 8 years of conditioning to call them funnels. I have to really learn. I have to keep it with flows here. Adrian has an issue with the 4-letter words. Yes, I do have issues with 4-letter words. Thank you for pointing that out. It's been 8 years of funnels, and so now they're flows, and we're working on it. I'm gonna write a sticky note. You can tell that we're recording this live. I'm gonna write a sticky note. They're called flows, damn it. Called flows, damn it. I'm just going to put that right there. There we go. Okay. Moving on swiftly. Eduardo asks, so is this like or and or just or? So here's how the multi-branch works. So for each branch that you specify, right, with tags includes customers, tags excludes customers, basically it's going to go from left to right. So it's going to check the customer branch first, then the lead branch, and it's going to see, all right, does the tags includes customer? If yes, then it's going to go down the customer branch. It's not going to check anything else. If it doesn't match the customer branch, then it's going to check the leads branch. Does the tag not includes customer? Well, then it's going to go down that branch. And then anything else where it doesn't match, it's going to go down the else branch. And it's going to check them from left to right in order. And if you want to change the order, you can actually just reorder this, and we can make the leads branch go first. So it's going to check if they're a lead first, then a customer, then else. Else is always last. And that way, it sort of just goes through and it matches. It goes down the branch where it matches the conditions first. In terms of the conditions themselves, we see that there's or conditions here. So if I just wanted to add an or, so tags includes customer, or if their opt-in status is confirmed. And then if you want to do an and of multiple conditions, you could do and their custom field, their NPS score is very likely. Oh, go back there. So tags excludes customer, or their NPS score is very likely, or their opt-in status is confirmed. So this is how the conditions work. So you can do and as well as or. And you can do nested queries as well. Like if I want to do like a subquery, you could do subqueries in there. It gets very, 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 intricate as you start diving deep into what's actually capable with search filters. But here's a simple example. So hopefully that answers your question, Eduardo. Am I getting old and stuck in my ways? My wife would tell you yes. Hopefully 8 years from now, the new name flows will feel natural. Hopefully. And put $1 in the jar every time you say funnel and give it away as a door prize. That'd be a very heavy jar because in Canada we have loonies. Okay. What else we got? Going back to our multi-branch. So if there's any questions about the multi-branch, feel free to pop in. But let's talk about split testing because I mean this has been like a majorly requested feature. So the split test works within the flow itself, and it has branches. It has two, so you can test two things at once. You can test A and B, and this is what the settings look like. So you can describe the test. So you can just give it a name like test email subject line or something, and that'll show here. And then you can decide how you want to split the traffic between the two branches. So you can do 1090, you can do 2080, you can do 3070, you can do 4060, you can do 5050, etc., etc., etc. There are two different types of win conditions that you can currently specify. You can specify funnel conversions. That should actually say flow conversions. You missed that. So pretend that says flow conversions. It looks like we missed one. We did like a huge like search and replace operation, and that one must have snuck through. So conversions, so flow conversions or email link clicks. Those are your two different metrics for tracking the success of either A or B. So I like to use flow conversions, and if you don't know what a flow conversion is. So if you're using a trigger and let's say, what do we got? We got, I don't know, we're going to track a conversion whenever the customer tag is applied. There is an option within the trigger. It says track conversion when triggered here. We're going to go ahead and turn that on and you'll see that there's a little flag icon on the trigger now. That's conversion. And so whenever anyone goes through that trigger, that counts as a conversion for the flow report. And so what the A/B test does is it tracks which branch they went through and correlates that to the whether or not they actually went through the conversion trigger that happens later in the flow. So we can add our two different email templates here. So we're going to test light versus dark. So we have a dark email template, and then we're going to have a light email template. And we're going to call this light versus dark to see which converts better. We're going to send that down each branch 50-50. And then depending on which branch they go through, when they eventually get here, or if they get here, we're going to correspond that to the total number of people that went through each branch. And then that's going to give us a basically conversion rate for each branch. And from there, you'll be able to tell which branch converts better. So if I go ahead and activate this, you'll see that there's a report within the step itself. It'll tell you how many contacts went through each branch and the results, meaning the flow conversions. And then you can mark whatever branch as a winner with this thumbs up thing here. You can't make changes once the test is active. You can change stuff within the branches itself. So you can make some like tweaks to the email if like you make a typo or something that you just want to fix. But you can't make changes to the distribution or the win condition unless you deactivate the funnel or until you declare a winner. So if you declare a winner, you can restart the test. So once you declare a winner, if I declare a winner, everything's going to stay there, but you'll see that this branch is now the winner. So 100% of traffic is now going to go through this branch, while the loser branch has no traffic go through it. And at this point, you can start a new test if you want to start a new test, etc. So this is a very, very, very cool piece of kit that you now have in Flows to test what's working and what's not. So you do have to create 2 different email templates to test your stuff, but I think that's okay. You don't even, and it doesn't even have to end there. You can test the reason that this is cool versus like just putting like a split test subject line kind of thing is you can test, all right, well, I want to see if like 2 emails. I want to test if 2 emails is better than 1. So I'm going to test 1 email versus 2 emails. And so now we can do that. And that's pretty cool. Eduardo asks, is it just AB or can we do ABCD? It is just AB. There's a couple reasons for that. Reason number 1 is that was easier for us. And we wanted to get this out on time. And so maybe in the future, I'm not saying no, but for right now, it's just AB. What we do have is the random distribution, which is kind of like ABCD, but there's no tracking associated with it. And so while the AB has like the actual like test components and stuff, this simply has you can send contacts randomly down each branch. You can put the reporting together yourself if you wanted to. But for the split test sort of like user experience, that is currently only A and B. Can split testing automatically pick a winner and run with that branch after a certain time? Again, the reason that we didn't do that is time and what we could launch with. And so I'm not opposed to that in the future. It's certainly possible. Like we like it's developed in a way where we could add that eventually. So maybe, but not right now. Okay. So that's the split test. What we also got is, I mentioned quickly, the random distribution. So this is kind of like the hybrid of the multi-branch and the split test, where you can randomly send down contacts down each branch based on a weight, which is arbitrary. So you could do 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3 if you wanted. And then so that's total 6. So 1 out of 6 contacts would go down A, 2 out of 6 contacts would go down B, and then 3 out of 6 contacts would go down C. And it is random, so your sample size has to be large enough to make that work. But basically, like with a large enough sample size, for every 6 contacts, 1 goes down A, 2 goes down to B, 3 to go down C, and you just specify what you want the weight for each branch to be. And so that's kind of like the hybrid between the multi-branch and the split test. You can add more branches. So there we go. So now we got 4. So for every whatever the number is, so that's 6 plus 4. So that for every 10 contacts, 4 will go down this branch. And there we go. So that's pretty easy and straightforward. That's the random distribution. Let's talk about looping and skipping. So we had looping and skipping previously, but they're now logic instead, and they work a little bit better. And they have these nice lines. So if I add a loop, basically what this allows us to do is allows us to loop back to a previous step within the flow. And we can do it based on filters. So we can say, all right, we want to filter people who have the customer tag. We're just going to keep on using our customers. And then we're going to loop back to a previous step within the flow. And we have this line that comes out and it brings us all the way back up to here. So the restrictions on the loop step are that it only works for steps that are within the same branch that it is. So you can't loop to like a timer or an email within another branch or a sub branch or a parent branch. Only branches, or only steps within the same branch where it is. And then we also have the skip, where based on filters, you can skip to another branch or another step within the same branch. So we can skip to the send an email, and you can specify that based on filters as well. So if they have the customer tag, then we're going to skip all the way down here. So that's looping and skipping. Those are pretty straightforward, very, very useful. The nice thing about the loop step now, the loop logic, is that you can set a limit on the number of times that they loop. So I can say, I only want them to loop 5 times. And then after they're done looping, then we're going to continue on in the main flow and keep going through other stuff. So that's pretty cool. I really, 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 really like this. So if you've got like a long-term nurture and you don't want to write out like 6 months worth of like the same email instead of the timers, you can just use a loop and say, all right, I want to send this email 10 times. So we're just going to loop back through this process 10 times. And then after that, we're going to stop annoying them. And so I think that's pretty cool. I'd like you to show me another marketing automation tool that does that. I don't think you can, because I think we're the only one. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I think it's true. I think if in any other marketing automation tool, you'd have to set up like a custom field and like math and do some like fancy API stuff. This is just baked in, and that's pretty cool. Kenneth says it's amazing, and that's because it is amazing, Kenneth. So thank you for that. All right. What else we got? We've got stop. So this basically allows you to just stop a funnel based on filters. So if we wanted to say, all right, we just want unsubscribed people to stop here. So if they're unsubscribed, then we're just going to stop them and they're not going to continue. Anybody that isn't unsubscribed, they're going to keep going. Very straightforward. While we were doing user testing, the most questions that we got were about what we, at the time during user testing, called the evergreen sequence, which in fairness to our testers was a bad name. And so we renamed it. And so now it's called the smart date sequence. I don't know if that's truly better, but time will tell. And so will documentation, which does not exist yet, but will hopefully by tomorrow. So what this does is, this is very cool. I'm actually, I'm going to create a new flow to demonstrate this. And I'm going to use our United States holidays flow template. So this is a new flow template. We previously had it. This is a new version of the US holidays flow template with new email copywriting as well. We're going to click that. And this makes use of the smart date sequence. So whenever the holiday emails tag is applied, they enter the flow, and then we immediately enter this US holidays sequence. So the way that this works is we have timers 1st of January, 2nd of February, 14th of February, 17th of March, the 2nd Monday of May, the last Monday of May, the 3rd Sunday of June, right? We have all of these different timers. Now, before, if someone entered into a year-long email sequence for the first time, they'd always have to start at that 1st of January timer. And so if you entered in June, that means you're waiting basically a half a year till you get that first holiday email. And that's silly, right? Like why I gotta wait a whole year to start getting those those nice emails. And so what this does is it's smart. And it reads all of the dates, the projected calculated dates within the timers within the sequence. So it takes all of these dates and it finds the next closest date to the current one, the time that the content gets added to the sequence, and puts them there and starts them from that point. So if I have this US holidays and it says if a contact were added to the sequence now, they start at the timer, which is the 2nd Monday of May at 9 a.m., which is Mother's Day. So the next email that's going to go out is our Mother's Day email. Happy upcoming Mother's Day to everybody. I guess that's still a little ways out. That's still in May. We're not even through April yet. But that's very cool. And there's a loop at the back here, which is not configured properly. So we're going to loop back to the 1st. And so we have our US holidays and it adds us directly to that timer. So we can start within the year that were added at the appropriate time. And then it runs through all of them. And then we have a loop at the end, which loops us back to the beginning And so now we start the whole year-end sequence over again. And that's pretty cool. So that's what the smart date sequence does. There's lots of different use cases for this beyond just like year-long email sequences. If you have like an event coming up and you have a bunch of email reminders leading up to the date of the event, and someone registers for the event, but you don't want them to get every single reminder email, right? Then you can just put all of your reminders in a smart date sequence, and then they get added to the timer of the email closest to the date and relative to the time that they're added. Relative, calculated, I don't know. These are words. These are words that do not spark confidence in understanding. But hopefully this makes sense. And we're going to have incredibly detailed documentation for this. So if at any point you're confused about what it does, hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to take a pause here. I'm going to look at some of the comments here. Paige asks, Paige Planners, I'm in the event industry and have clients who request quotes for future event dates. Could I use this feature to schedule emails to go out as their event date gets closer? That is exactly what this is for. So you basically just plan all of your emails out right in advance. And then regardless of when they get added, they always get the emails, only the emails that are relevant to them in terms of the time to the date, your event. Hopefully that makes sense. But basically the answer to your question is yes, that's exactly what this is for. Garrett is like, is this working with custom date time fields? Yes, if you use any of the timers, so the advanced timer, the field timer, the date timer, or the delayed timer, all of these work within the smart date sequence. So the smart date sequence does not care what type of timer you're using. It will calculate basically the delay and find the closest one to the date that you were added to the sequence, as long as that date is in the future. So yes, it does work with custom date time fields as well. Do you have to use the loop to start from the beginning? Yes, you have to add the loop. If you don't add the loop, then they will just exit the sequence and continue on in the flow as normal. Zane asks, can you zoom in and out of the flow? No, but we tried and we couldn't get it to work. So, but we tried. We did get those requests, but we couldn't get it to work. And so we gave up because we had other stuff to do. Hopefully that answers your question, Zane. Business of Technology asks, can these dates be calculated based on a meta field? Yeah, that's basically what Garrett asked. So if you're using like the field timer, I'm just going to add one arbitrarily here, right? And you put in either like a date, like a custom field or the replacement code or whatever, you can use that date here and it works exactly the same way as with the other delay timers. We also added that you can use the current year. So if you're using a date that has like a specific year in it, like maybe like a birthday or like an anniversary or something, you can always set the timer to use the current year instead of the year that's in the date field. So that's kind of cool too. That's something that we added into 4.0. Someone requested that during user testing. We're like, yeah, I think we can add that in. That's pretty straightforward. So whoever asked for that, you're welcome. I don't remember exactly who, but there we go. You can use the current year. This also works for date fields. So if you put in like a date timer and I set it for, I don't know, April 1st of this year, and then I have a loop going, I can always set it to use the current year. So it'd be 2026 next year, April 1st. So that's kind of cool. Let's go ahead and delete those. So that is the smart date sequence. Very cool, very powerful. Lots of potential use cases in terms of like event reminders and really long, like year-long date-based email sequences, like holiday emails. We're going to be making more of these for like Canadian holidays and other holidays around the world, and sort of like just like national Taco Day, stuff like that. So that's exciting. If there's a template, by the way, it is not easy to actually come up with ideas for flow templates. So if you need a template of something and you want to know like how to build a template of something, you should just ask us and we'll write it down so we can make a template and we can add it to the library, because we actually need ideas to actually create content for stuff. And that's easier said than done, especially, you know, as sort of like the primary developer working on this. I'm like always working in it, so I know how everything works. And obviously I have a different view of the product than most of our users do. And so if you need something, just like let us know and we'll add it to the library. So if there's stuff that you want to see here that's missing, let us know and we'll add it. Like literally we'll add it. Like we're not even like maybe, we'll be like, yeah, we'll add it. We need stuff to go in there. So we need ideas. Sip of coffee. It's coffee time. Okay. What else we got? In the actual flow editor itself. We did date sequence. We did all of that. Got new icons. We have this all page now. That's kind of fun. So you can see everything all together. And you can search. I really like this. So if you're like, you know, some days you're just having those days where you're like, you know that it's there, but you can't see it. I have those days all the time. It's probably because I've been staring at a screen for like 12 hours a day for like 2 months. But you can just type tag, boom, there's your tag stuff. If you can't find the email, type email, there's your email stuff. If you type webhook, there's your webhook stuff. So there's search, and that's nice. That's just like a little UI UX improvement, make your life a little bit easier. This was here before. It's full screen. I'm not sure if you knew that was there, but it has been. All right, let's talk about what's here. So keyboard shortcuts. So you can copy and paste. I mentioned that, but you can also move. So you can move by drag and drop, right? You can move stuff around, and that's fun. Or click on a step. You can click Control M or Command M on a Mac, and you'll notice that all of like the little plus icons are now highlighted, and they're sort of like flashing and pulsing. So you can just click, and then it's going to add the step in place. So if I wanted to move this, right, but I wanted to move it like if I have like a huge flow and I want to move it, click Control M, and then I can go anywhere. I can move that all the way down here. Easy peasy. So that's moving using keyboard shortcuts rather than dragging, which can be a little bit of a pain in this sort of like format. So trying to remove as much of the necessity to drag and just make everything a little bit more clickable. So if you ever forget what the shortcuts are, click shortcuts. There you go. If you're using this and something is broken, something isn't working, you've got feedback, click here, click on the 3 dots, and there's a feedback thing. This goes directly to us. We see it. You can tell us that it sucks. You know, your flow editor sucks or whatever. And we'll ignore you because it doesn't suck. It's awesome. But if you have legitimate feedback, then you can go ahead and write that feedback here. Send feedback that goes to us, and we'll make improvements and adjust as necessary. We've got screenshot mode. This is kind of silly, but it was hard to take screenshots for documentation without making it super small and whatever. And there's like all this stuff here. And so to do thumbnails and stuff for documentation, I added this thing called screenshot mode. And so it just allows us to like, it just makes everything a little bit more pop, puts it on a white background so it's easily visible. You're probably never going to use that, but it's there. That's a little quirky sort of like development thing. Oh, really important. But let's see if there's any questions before I talk about this. Garrett wants deals in the flow. I know, Garrett, I know that. I know. I have like 4 feature requests from you for that. I have a huge document for 4.0, and I have Garrett wants deals in the flow in it. I know. I heard you. In the future, okay? Thank you for being patient with us, Garrett. 32-inch monitor will help here. Yes, but so you'll notice, so the actual screen size that I'm using now to demo this is laptop. So this is a laptop screen. I'm not on a laptop. This is the actual size of my screen. So that's the actual size of my screen. So my actual screen is like quite large, but most people don't have a huge screen like I do. So laptop. So you'll notice that it does work perfectly adequately on a small monitor, on your 17, 18, 13-inch laptop. So we designed this product with the laptop user in mind, as well as the large desktop user in mind. So hopefully that doesn't get in the way of making things. This is also like all of this, like this is draggable, so you can move this in and out to suit sort of like if you're doing like split screen on a Mac. Alicia, my wife, she was doing a lot of the user testing as we were going through this. She's sort of she's sort of a great test case because she's not, a particularly like technically inclined person, but she wants, if she's gonna do like broadcasting for like her blog or whatever, she goes in and she's trying to do things and she's like, oh, why can't I drag this? It's like, oh, well, maybe we should add that. So, and she uses like a 15 or 13-inch MacBook. And so we did a lot of testing based on that. No other tool does do this, Garrett. Yeah, so you can shift around. So that's cool. Okay. What was I talking? Oh, yeah. This is really important. Let's talk about the publish flow for a moment. I'm going to start a new funnel. Let's do a contact form funnel. So we've got a contact form. It's got questions. It's got our notification. And it's got a follow-up email. That's great. Go ahead. Let's publish this first so I don't get any notices. So everything's good to go. You'll notice it says changes saved at the top. I go ahead and click activate. Boom. Funnel's active. You'll notice that our publish changes button at the top of the screen is currently grayed out. It's disabled and can't click on it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a timer and another email. Let's go ahead and we're going to use just the same email because I'm lazy. And we're going to set this for a 1-day delay. So you'll notice that the steps that I previously activated and published with the funnel, those have a solid color background. Okay. You notice that these ones do not. These ones are white. So that means that I've added these to the flow, but are unpublished. So anybody who's currently going through the flow right now will not go through the timer and the email until I publish the changes. So they're going to experience the funnel exactly as when the last time I hit that publish changes button. Okay. I can go ahead and refresh this, right? I can leave and come back and you'll see still white. Okay. I can also make changes. I can change this email. Let's say I wanted to change this email. I'll change it to the Halloween email from the US holidays. You notice that this step now has a slashed sort of striped background. So that means that this step has recently been published, but has changes that are unpublished. Okay. And so I can make changes to published steps, but contacts going through the flow will not experience those changes until, you guessed it, I click publish changes. Okay. And so you now can make changes to active flows without impacting the user experience going through that flow. And all of your changes are saved automatically to basically a draft version of the flow. And then I come here and I click publish changes. And now everything has that solid background. If I deactivate, everything goes back to white because there's no point in doing that for an active flow. But there we go. So now you can make changes to active flows and you don't even have to finish your changes all at once. So if I click activate and I delete this, Okay. You'll notice that publish these changes is currently a thing because I deleted stuff. So until I click publish changes, the steps that I just deleted, people are going to go through those steps. Isn't that amazing? And so you can make all of these changes. I can leave. I can come back tomorrow. I don't have to do everything all at once. You have to do that in Groundhogg 3. Like changes would happen as you make them, and that was kind of annoying because you had to like be considerate. Like, oh, I got to make these changes, and I got to do it all at once. I got to do it at like 9 p.m. so I don't interrupt anybody's experience. No, now you can make changes, and when you're ready to go, click publish. Boom, you're off to the races. That's pretty cool. Do the form tags work now without the legacy form? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Please rephrase that question, and I will answer it because I don't understand what you're asking. Garrett asks, are admins going through it when testing? I also don't know what that means. And I'm sorry, it probably, like, your questions probably make sense. It has been a crazy, my brain is so fried. And so you're just gonna have to forgive me for being slow. So please re-ask your questions just to add a little bit more context for me because I'm slow today. Greg reminding me that it's a flow, not a funnel. It's flows, damn it, not funnels. Old habits die hard, baby. Oh boy. All right. Okay. So that's the flow editor. I think it's pretty cool. It was a lot of work. Let's bring Greg in. Greg, are you good to come in? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Yeah. So Greg's here. Many of you probably know Greg. Greg is our support guy. He's answering all your questions and he's writing and updating documentation. He's going to be very busy in the coming weeks, updating images and documentations and terminology and everything. And oh boy.
Something you might want to show is briefly, we didn't talk about the duplicate and the, showing the delete and the things for each of the steps. You could, those little three.
Oh, here?
Yes, the lock.
Right. Yeah, that's worthwhile pointing out. So let's go ahead and we're going to add, let's just add a yes, no here. And we're going to add a couple emails to it. So if you've got stuff with branches in it, like the yes, no, the multi-branch split test, the random distribution. If you duplicate this, it'll actually give you an option. You can choose no, just duplicate the step, or you can duplicate all the sub-steps as well. And then we'll also duplicate everything within the branches, including if we go ahead and if we do like nested branching, which you can do nested branching, which is very cool. Let's go ahead and add some emails here. And if we duplicate this, duplicate all the sub-steps, it's going to duplicate everything. And so that's very, very, very powerful. You'll also notice there's a new thing. You can lock steps. So if you're like an admin and you've got customers that mess stuff up all the time and you don't want them to mess stuff up, you can lock. And now everything in here is locked. Everything within this branch is, and you can lock steps individually as well.
When you click on the settings, it's so cool that you.
Yeah, and you can click on the settings. Boom! Cool. Can't touch this.
That's a nice
this is locked, so you can see it, but no touch. Can't touch this. MC Hammer, baby. So that's fun. I really like that, and you can't delete it, and you can't move it either. So it's basically just like you're there now. Currently locking is only on like a step basis, but I think we're gonna just like put a lock here that would lock the whole thing. I didn't really think about that until just now.
The other
But
thing that's go ahead.
yeah, what were
The
you
other
going to
thing
say?
that's pretty cool is the added functionality when you're down inside with other triggers is that you can set it to allow people to come into that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to add. So we've got a tag applied and a tag removed trigger here. Now let's say we have this whole funnel and we have all of the stuff that comes after these triggers, right? And you don't want to make a new funnel. Flow. It's flow, damn it. So hard. So hard. I've done so many videos, so many live streams, so many hours of like calling them funnels, and it's like old habits, man. So you've got this flow, and you've got to have these triggers halfway through the flow. You don't want to create a new flow, right? You just want people to basically be able to enter here and then move on through the flow. You can. There is a setting in the trigger, allow contacts to enter the flow at this trigger is what you want here. So allow contacts to enter the flow at this trigger. Okay. And now if the customer tag is applied, so someone can submit the contact form, they go through this until the customer tag is applied and then they continue. Or if they never submit this form, but they have the customer tag applied anyway, then they start here and then continue on in the flow. So that's pretty cool. You can also enable something called pass-through. So you might have like an email series up here, and they eventually get to a trigger, right? And then you have other stuff. But you might want the trigger to like end the flow early, but if they don't ever meet the trigger conditions, then you might want them to just continue on. You can enable this pass-through. So allow context to pass through this trigger. And you'll see that on the line that connects them, it says pass through here. When that's enabled, if they get to the until, right, and that they don't meet any of the trigger conditions, they will pass through the trigger and then continue on in the flow without meeting the conditions. And so if you've got like a super long email sequence, but you want it to end when they do something, but even if they don't do that thing, you want them to get everything after, that's what you do, is you enable pass through, and then they can just scurry on through that without having to meet the trigger conditions. Hopefully that makes sense. Eduardo asks, can we lock the main flow instead of all the sub steps? I didn't really think of that until just now. So yeah, we'll do that. Garrett wants us to be able to lock based on user role. Maybe. Garrett's always asking for more stuff. Garrett's greedy. You're greedy, Garrett. He always wants more. Maybe I'll consider it. We'll look into it, like seriously. Leonardo says he activated in her site, and the site right now looks beautiful. I'm so glad that you think it looks beautiful. I think it looks beautiful. We spent a lot of time on the looks, like just like dash borders, solid borders, colors, border radius, like an inordinate amount of time to make it look pretty, because we want people to like be excited to use it. We want the flow editor to be a nice place to be, right? Because if you're going to be using this tool for as long as you are, you want it to look really nice. He says it looks awesome in dark mode. I didn't know that there was a dark mode. Maybe that's like a browser thing that you have, but you'll have to let me know how to do it so we can check it out, because I've never actually seen what it looks like in dark mode. So that would be cool. I'd be curious. I'd be curious. What else is worth looking at, Greg, that I haven't gone over yet?
You have covered a lot.
I'm gonna have to like go look at the changelog.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, reports.
It's all the little details.
Yeah.
There's
so many details.
And they're so good.
So Alicia just mentioned reports, and so the flow report got an update as well. And so what we used to have is there used to be like this bar chart here, but now ironically enough. It looks more like a funnel. But it groups together groups of triggers and says, all right, we had 53 people enter the funnel, 40 people made it to like the next group of triggers, et cetera, et cetera. And so you can see how people are moving through like the stages of your flow in terms of like a conversion. So you can see that 75% of people made it from website lead as a tag, or the website lead tag is applied, to when the customer tag is applied. And in the report also, there used to just be a table of the activity, but now it shows you a preview of the flow, and you can see the number of contacts that are currently going through the flow. And if there's any waiting contacts, it would show you the number of people that have pending activity coming up for the flow as well. All of this is still clickable, of course. And so that's the new flow report.
I have a feature request on that one, Adrian.
Like, yeah, what's that?
Make it switch. So it could be table view or graphic view.
Oh, well, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. If a customer asks for it. Yeah. Maybe it'd be easier for us when we like go debug people's sites. The custom reports got a little bit of a UI improvement as well. So instead of having to add or use the add buttons, you can add in place. You can add a header or report. Garrett says he asked for it, so there you go.
There you go, Garrett.
Greedy Garrett with more feature requests. I don't actually think you're greedy, Garrett. I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. You've been around long enough that I can tease you, right? Without you getting offended. What else we got? I'm gonna go look at the changelog. For anybody who's curious about everything, that's the changelog for 4.0 is in the development tab of the WordPress repository. So we did that. Oh yeah. So some other stuff outside of flows. Flows is obviously the big one, and they're beautiful and they look really cool. Another one is if you're in the emails, there is an unused filter that you can use for the emails, and it will give you a list of all of the emails that are currently in your site that are not being used by a broadcast of funnel or haven't been sent in the last 6 months. And so if you're doing like a little bit of cleanup and you just want to delete like email templates that are no longer relevant or taking up space or, gumming up your search, then you can see, okay, I'm going to see if it's unused, and then that'll tell you. So that's nice. What else we got? Cron job page got an update. So it looks like this now. And so just a little bit of a UI update. Puts everything on one screen instead of the wizard, and gives you all of the things, and you can click in. So that's the cron page. That's new. That's improved. Obviously, if you're like a Groundhogg Pro at this point, that's not really much of a bonus for you. It's going to be much more of a bonus for new Groundhogg users. In the contact list, there's the tags column. All of these are now clickable. So if I just wanted to see, all right, I want to actually see customers that have the imported lead tag based on clicking here. If I click that, now it's going to show me contacts that all have the imported lead tag. And so that's just another UI improvement, just on making another thing clickable, another thing accessible. We dumbed down the start from scratch email template. This is one again that a couple people asked for. Is in the flow editor. When you're working on a form and you're applying tags based on drop downs. So if I wanted to apply a tag based on if they select the general question type, you couldn't add tags while you were adding tags here, but now you can. So I can now add the general question tag and create that from here without having to go somewhere else to create it. I could just create it in place now. So just another small little improvement, a little detail that just makes life easier. A couple of people asked for that during user testing. So we made that possible. Fixed a couple bugs. This stuff, I mean, this is the development stuff. This is really for our team, but it's there. It's basically as you're going through a flow now. Let's go back to a flow. As you're going through a flow, if I submit a form, a submission object is created, and I can then reference that submission object if I unlock this here. So I have this form submission replacement code. The events in like the way that the flow works is that there's an events table and then it tracks everything and there's a queue. So the queued event, this is technical jargon now, the queued event now keeps track of arbitrary arguments that happen within the flow. So there is now a reference within the event itself to the submission that was created. And so if I use this, the form submission replacement code here, regardless of whether they go submit a form somewhere else, if I send the submission again in a thing, it will reference the submission that was created within the flow. Now, the reason that this is important is for a couple of reasons. So I'm going to show you another example using the pipeline. And Garrett is asking for all of this deals stuff, right? Garrett, you're asking, and you're going to get eventually. Because this change makes what you're asking possible. And so let's go ahead and create a new pipeline. We're just going to call it this. And we're going to go back to a flow. And we're going to add a new flow. Start from scratch. Web form. And then we are going to create a deal. And then when a link is clicked, we want to move the deal. Okay. So here's a simple flow. Someone submits a web form. We're going to create a deal in the proposals pipeline at the new lead stage. And then we are going to send them an email. And if they click the link in the email, then we want to move that deal to the qualification state. Now, so what used to happen is, because context can have many deals, what used to happen is, and it still says that here because that's the default, all active deals in the selected pipeline related to the current contact will be moved. That is no longer the case. So now what happens is the deal is created and the deal ID is associated with the event for the contact going through the flow at that point in time. And so now as the contact is going through, it remembers the deal ID regardless if they have other deals active in other flows or for other pipelines, but it remembers the deal that it was created here. And then if I move the deal, it is going to reference that deal. And what also makes possible this also makes possible is moving deals between pipelines. So if I created this deal and I added proposals, I can actually move this deal to a different pipeline now because it knows which deal I'm referencing. And so this is going to open up a lot of possibilities in terms of like modifying and editing companies and deals within the flow directly. And so that's very, very, very cool. So you're going to see some epic stuff like that happen in the future because now we were able to actually track all of that information. So that's what this stuff means, like all this like jargon down here. It's like the new event arguments API. It's very developer-y, and there's no practical application for you as the end user, except for when we go ahead and actually like create this functionality that's available through the flow editor. But it's there. And so that's what's happening. That's what's coming out in the future. So Garrett, like what you're asking for is now possible. And so it's really just a matter of time. And Garrett also says, the form replacement work with Fluent Form or the webhook or the API? Yes, actually. So a submission object. Actually, I hold on. Let's let's just add an admin notification. And so form submission, I actually don't know if it works for the other ones. I said earlier that sometimes I have to look at code to like actually know if it does something or not. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna do that quickly. Okay. So the answer to your question, Garrett, is no, but it should. So we'll probably change or add that in the near future, because you should be able to just use the form submission to also do other stuff. And so coming to a Groundhogg near you in the near future. Okay. What else can we talk about? I think that's it. While I'm here, actually. So everybody who's currently here, who loves Groundhogg, who has not at any point left a review, can you like take a couple minutes right now, and go leave a review here, add my review? I'd be very grateful. I'd be very appreciative. And it would help us a lot. We have lots of 5-star reviews right now. We have like 4.9 out of 5. I'm a bit bummed that's not 5 out of 5, but you know, someone was angry. It happens. But if you have time and you like Groundhogg, please go do that. Someone's asking about the booking calendar. I'm sorry about the booking calendar. It's definitely it took a backseat to this stuff. This stuff was so important though. Like you have to admit, like it's pretty incredible. It's next, right? Like the booking calendar. I've been saying that for a long time though. You have no idea like how many hours we've actually sunk into the booking calendar, and then nothing's been released. Like we're talking like hundreds of hours like sunk into like the booking calendar, with no updates, because we're just testing things and tweaking things and working on things, and then Groundhogg moves, and then all of a sudden there's like a whole new thing to like line up the booking calendar with, because it's basically like its own product in and of itself. Like we could sell like a calendar, like I mean there's whole companies based around the calendar functionality, like Calendly, and then you know Fluent goes and makes it like Fluent Booking because they just always copy us, but whatever, right? Like they like people like so it's a product in and of itself, and it requires so much more effort than like just like integrations and add-ons, and so it's like it's this poor like stepchild that gets neglected. And I feel really guilty about it on a daily basis, for what it's worth. So many hours sunk into it, and my wife was like, you know, when you like if you're gonna like launch 4.0, like everybody's just gonna ask you about the calendar, and she was right, and I knew she was right, and here we are asking about the calendar. It's like you should like just take a weekend, just work on it. And it's like even if I did that, like it could, I don't know, maybe you could have done, maybe not, but we're gonna be taking some time to look at it and to make it not terrible, because we want it to be good. I mean, like it gets the job done now, but it's not great. Like it's not, I mean, it was competitive maybe like 6 years ago when we made it, but it's not anymore. But it should be. But the Groundhogg funnel, now flow editor, was also sort of like not necessarily like super competitive anymore, and it needed to be. And so that's where we invested the time right now. But now it's here, and so the future is the future is limitless. She was right, and she knows she was right, and she's also listening on this, so she knows that. Is it going to be better than Amelia? Of course it is. Yeah, absolutely, no question. Talk about the good booking calendar has me thinking about how we could use Groundhogg for event registration. So with events, like there's so many different kinds of events. Like if you just like want to like spin up a web form and be like register here, that's like probably what I would do. But if you're like getting into like ticket sales and stuff like that, like when we do like the new update for the calendar, it is still going to be that sort of one-to-one sort of format, rather than like scheduling webinars or like doing like general like event bookings. Like it's still going to be like focused in sort of like that Calendly segment where it's like, all right, we're going to book sales calls, and it's like one-to-one, or maybe you got like a couple of hosts and like a couple of guests or whatever. But I don't think we're going to foray into like the event management space, because talk about a product in and of itself, right? So here's the thing, like as the founder of a CRM and marketing automation product, we have to pick our battles of what we want to create and what we want to let other people create. Because if we go into the space of, all right, we're going to create everything, and this might have been my fault when we originally released the calendar. I'm like, we need this because, like, you know, paying for Calendly is dumb, or paying for like a SaaS booking solution is dumb, right? It's like, so let's make a calendar. Not really at the time realizing, because I was younger and, you know, more inexperienced and whatever, not realizing at the time that, oh my God, now I have to actually like maintain and support this product well into the future and maintain feature parity and all of these things for what other people base their entire business model on. For us, it's like, oh, it's included in the pro plan, right? But other people are selling it as their pro plan. But whether it's part of our pro plan or we're selling it as our own product, you expect the same level of support and functionality for it, right? And so we're always trying to like balance what is reasonable for us to build and create and maintain and provide excellent support for and feature parity for, which we do with CRM and marketing automation really, 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 really well. We're really, really, really good at that, right? And so we don't want to dilute that by taking on too much other stuff. And so like other people, like one of the big requests has always been, we want forms as its own module, right? Take the web form out of the flow editor, take it out of funnels, right? Take it out of the flow editor, make its own thing, right? But if we do that, all of a sudden, okay, now we got to do, you know, conditional fields, and we got to do styling, and we got to do all of this other stuff that other form plugins do, which their whole business is like centered on just forms. We can't do that. We don't have the team for it. We don't have the time for it, right? Like it's totally unrealistic for us to make that promise and be able to deliver on it. So we have it as a simple module as part of the flow editor. And if you want to integrate a proper solution that does all those conditional fields and stuff, you can use one of the form integrations, right? So that's how we manage that. Like that's the dance, right? We have to balance all of these things. We're like, what can we realistically support really, really, really well? We're going to do the calendar. Okay, this is not, I'm not making excuses for why that's not getting done. Like we're going to do it because we made it and we sold it to people. And I think it could be really good if we did it properly, which we're going to try to do. But I'm just being honest. Like maybe we shouldn't have. Because, oh my God, is it like a huge undertaking? And like all of the integrations, like Microsoft. Oh my God, Microsoft. Talk about a headache, right? ChatGPT is going to come and become helpful for that one. Because like, holy crap. What a total nightmare. Okay. What a total nightmare. Calendar stuff, people. If you're thinking about making a product, don't make a calendar. Yeah. So hopefully that's sort of my rant, my take on sort of all of this stuff, right? It's like we do CRM and marketing automation so well. Like our true sort of future plan is to focus on awesome, good integrations with products that their sole focus is the things that you actually need, which is like the event management stuff, like the events calendar, right? Or WooCommerce, if you're just selling events through WooCommerce or whatever, right? Or webhooks. Like we invested a lot of time into perfecting our webhooks, like outgoing and incoming, to basically integrate with anything. And that's sort of like that's sort of like the sweet spot, because we can continue to deliver epically on CRM and marketing automation stuff. The pipeline, right? That's a super like amazing component of Groundhogg. The company's add-on, right? That's stuff. And like that calendar solution, right? It's just, there's so much there. Okay, I'm done ranting. Hopefully that adds a little bit of context to sort of like what's going on there. It's yeah. Hopefully that adds some context. Helen asks, are old funnels converted automatically to flows, or do we need to rejig? You need to do nothing. As soon as you activate, it's all taken care of. It's all automatic. Everything is backwards compatible. Your funnels, now flows, will continue to work exactly as the way as you most recently programmed them. Nothing will change. But now you can go in and you can add really cool new stuff. And so that would be cool. I'm just scrolling. I'm sorry for the silence. I'm just scrolling through the chat here. Lots of thoughts on my little rant there. All pretty much in agreement. Kenneth says he was excited that might offer solution. The best, Kenneth, I'm gonna be honest with you. The best that we're gonna be able to offer you is an integration, which is still good. Okay, maybe not like the thing like there's a product called Go High Level, right, which we compete with. Like they're probably one of our fastest growing competitors, and a lot of people love them, and probably just as many people don't. We get a lot of people coming from Go High Level because like you go to Go High Level if you want one platform to do everything, right? You come to us if you don't mind mixing and matching. We offer great integrations with the other WordPress plugins, right? And that's sort of like our space, and that's sort of like the segment of the market that we carved out. It's like, let's work well with others rather than sort of taking the walled garden approach. So Go High Level is like that walled garden, and the problem that people have there that I've heard anecdotally, right, so I don't get sued or whatever, is that they go and then they're a company that does everything but not particularly well, while we're trying to do one thing really epically. And that's sort of like, those are your options, right? And so I highly recommend that you invest in the event solution that you are happy with for ticket sales and whatever, and then you can hook that up to Groundhogg. And then you can do your flows based on that and do your conversion tracking and etc. and put your contacts in and send emails based on that. So hopefully that is a viable solution for you. Business Fertility says you can please some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time. That is a very true statement. I think when we started, right, in 2018, all those years ago, we were definitely, new business, new founder. I was like 21 at the time. I was definitely an all of the people, all of the time kind of person. And it's debatable whether that worked out. And so now I'm much more of a some of the people, all of the time person. Focused, hyper focused on delivering exceptional CRM and marketing automation. Exceptional. And I think you'll agree that everything that we've done with the flow editor is truly exceptional. Like I don't think anybody else really at this price point, nobody else at this price point can compete. unless they spent the amount of time that we spent, the amount of money that we spent on this and developing something like this. Nobody else at this price point can compete with us. Kenneth has a serious question. Okay, here's my serious answer. Contact records without an email address for new leads where I only have a phone number, or leads who prefer contact via SMS. We do have a solution for this. It is not rolled in with Groundhogg, but we do have one. Message, open a support ticket. It is code. It is a code snippet. We will send it to you. Basically, what it does is it generates a fake email address when you create a contact and you don't supply an email address. It creates a fake email address. And that fake email address uses like the same TLD, which is like noemail.com or something. So it passes validation checks and whatever. But those emails are filtered out from when you actually send emails. So it's a whole file that you have to install. We do not ship it normally with Groundhogg because it is like a little bit hacky. It is a workaround. There is too much technical debt to remove the email constraint from Groundhogg. So this is the way that it has to be for now, at least. Again, like, you know, who can at this point, I also said that we would never do this, that we'd never do the branching because it was too much work. And here we are. In fairness to me, it was too much work, but I did it anyway. And that would also be too much work, but who knows, I might do it anyway eventually. But for now, we do have a solution for that. Message support, we'll give it to you. Okay. For this year, is there a future plan for allowing a link between Outlook and Groundhogg? So what I'm assuming what you're talking about, Jono, is like an inbox connection where you can see emails that you receive in your inbox in Groundhogg. This is probably next to the branching. That's probably our second most requested feature over the last 8 years. It is in. All right, I'm going to go on another rant, but if you're interested, I'll tell you what goes on with that. So I look into this with the available technology and the available tools and the available whatever, probably once every 3 months to see what's possible. I've done that probably every 3 months for the last 7 years. I've looked into this. And so here's the reality. So there's a couple of things that we have to consider. Number one, you have to consider ease of use, right? So how complicated or how easy do you want the setup to be? Because we serve super advanced techie people, and we also serve not super techie people. But we offer solutions for both, right? And so it's more often than not that the super not techie people want this feature. That's typically, I've been keeping track. That's typically the trend. It's more often than not the not techie people that want this feature. They just want to go through the OAuth process and then see emails in Groundhogg. Okay. There's many considerations for that. Number one, GDPR. So all of a sudden, if we want to offer like OAuth integrations with all of these inboxes so you can start seeing emails and stuff, we have to host that stuff somewhere, which makes Groundhogg a liable third party for GDPR, which for me is very scary. And I don't want to do that because Groundhogg has always been, self-hosted, GDPR compliant automatically because it's hosted on your own stuff, and we don't read any of the contact data. But all of a sudden, now we might be liable for storing information in emails and data processing and stuff like that. And so that's a consideration for us. So that's number one. Number two is if we don't do that and we don't act as an intermediary between the inbox and Groundhogg, then all of a sudden implementation gets really technical. And you have to start getting like IMAP credentials and stuff and additional cron jobs and it starts getting scary. And all of a sudden, people who are setting this up are all of a sudden, oh, this is too complicated, and now I'm going to leave. And so, if we just say, oh, we don't have that, right? They're like, well, then the question is, can I live with that versus this is too complicated, I'm going to leave, right? We have the opportunity to ask the question, well, can I live with it? Versus it's too complicated, and then that sort of jades the rest of their experience with the product, because that's what happens. And so these are the questions that we have to balance. Then there's also the question of, okay, you're going to start tracking all of the emails that you receive. Well, how are we going to do that? Are we going to build like an entirely new inbox within Groundhogg? Are we just going to make it like super simple and put in the column? If we do that, are people going to like that or not? So many questions. And so I'll tell you what, Jono, and anybody else who wants to see emails in Groundhogg, my request to you is you can shoot us an email with a sketch. I want you to take pen and paper, and you can see, all right, I want emails here, and this is what I want them to look like, and this is what I want to see them. And then from there we can actually see what people expect. Because there's also a question of like, all right, well, what are people expecting? Right? Do you want to search do you want to filter the contact list by like email content? There's so many questions. And it's hard, right? It's very, very, very hard. That's my rant about seeing conversations and emails. It's just one of those things where like you start doing it, it can balloon really quickly. So I don't know. And like for like the Outlook stuff, or like even Gmail, like HubSpot, I know they have like the Chrome extension that does the thing. We can't do that. Like that's I mean, we could, if we had like the resources, the time, the will, and staff to like go ahead and do that, but we don't. And so that's not going to happen, at least not in the foreseeable future. Rants with Adrian. I hope that makes sense, Jono. Please, I do genuinely invite anybody that does want to see like inbox history within Groundhogg, where they would want to see that and how they'd want to be able to react with it, and their expectations of implementation, because that would be helpful, actually. I didn't intend to just start like a bunch of people like hating on high level, but I really appreciate pay high level. I'm going to use that. All right. So for anyone who wants to do contacts with no email addresses, just open a ticket and we'll send you the thing. We are going to create a doc on this because evidently it's necessary and people want it for the phone hack. So just email us and we'll send it to you. Open a support ticket and we'll send it to you. Maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, because obviously today we're sort of, got other stuff going on. But anyway. I don't know what Groundhogg X is. Do you mean like Groundhogg Social? Because no. If anybody wants to go broke, the fastest way to do that is to start a social media company. that and then a winery. Business can only watch reusable flow snippets. So I'm assuming what you mean is like if you have like this block here, you just want to save that somewhere. Which, yeah, I get that. For now, you can copy the whole block and then you can use that. But I definitely see where the desire might be to have like an email timer sequence, and you just like drop that in somewhere. Yeah, that could be cool. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I'll ask any AI plans. So our current future forward-thinking AI plans are for, number one, documentation will be our sort of like foray into that. We have documentation and we're rewriting a lot of it, obviously. We've already started that process. It's a huge, massive undertaking for us because we have like 300 articles.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that. Like something crazy.
300 something, yeah.
300 and something articles that have to be rewritten, retranscribed, compiled, whatever, like, and all of the image assets that go along with that. And so, but once that's done, we are going to add like an AI chatbot to the documentation so that you can go there and be like, I want to do XYZ, and it'll be able to like tell you exactly the step-by-step process on how to do that without having to bother us. Of course, if you want to do that, you still can. And you'll still be welcome to do so. But that is sort of the first step. The next step after that, and this is still very, 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 very much sort of up here. It's not even on paper yet, but getting into sort of like the I want to design a funnel that, you know, sends 3 emails after a web form, and then it like spits out the flow for you, and it gives you like the file that you can import. So that's way like future down the line, but that's something that's possible. And so we might be getting into that. Other stuff is just like, you know, write me an email. That's I mean, that's really simple though. Like, you can just copy and paste from ChatGPT if that's really what you want to do. The winery would be more fun after Groundhogg, because, you know, all things must come to an end eventually. Not anytime soon, God forbid, right? But the internet's going to change, and marketing's going to change, and email's going to change, and everything's going to change, and nothing is sacred, and nothing's permanent. And so, you know, when ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, Salesforce, and the rest of them like fulfill their usefulness, Groundhogg will also have fulfilled its usefulness. And then I'm going to go open a winery. That's the plan. That's the plan. Hopefully that's not anytime soon though, because you know, someone's got to pay the mortgage. Eduardo asks, can you copy and paste from one flow to another? Absolutely. So I can pick up this entire sequence here, I can copy that, and I can go to another flow and I can paste it. So absolutely you can do that. The only thing you can't do is post is copy and paste from one flow to another on another site. So currently you can only copy and paste on the site where the flow is. You can't do it between different sites. So if you need to move something from one site to another, export the flow, import it on the other site, and then you can copy it from that flow to the flow that you want. So there's an extra step if you want to go between 2 sites, but as long as you're on the same site, you can copy between 2 flows. Copy and paste. Helen says, you want to see customer emails in the contact area? Join the club. So basically what I want you to do, Helen, is where in the contact record? I want you to like, you can email us. You can be like, this is where I want. You can take a screenshot of the contact area, and you can draw a red arrow or a circle or text or whatever, and be like, emails here, and then this is what they look like. Because we're sort of like I'm struggling with what to do with it if we ever get there, or if, you know, it is a consideration. Like, it's something that I want to do. Like, I want to deliver this. There's just so many ifs, ands, or buts to get there. So that's my request to you: is take the time. If you want to see it, what does it look like, and what does it do? What are the features? What's the functionality? And anybody who wants to see this can do the same thing. And then that gives us a little bit of a starting point to see what's actually feasible and what's not. Mike Robert says, high five. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Skip version 5, go to version X, Groundhogg X. Groundhogg, I don't know. I like Groundhogg 5.0. Maybe. Never say never, right? I can tell you that Groundhogg VR is probably not in my future. I am eking to get like a VR headset though. So I have like a racing simulator at home right now. Not a very good one. Like I still need to like get the chair and stuff, but I want to get the VR for it because I see that and it looks awesome. And I haven't treated myself to that yet. I haven't actually used the simulator in like 2 months because I've been working on this every night, much to the detriment of my family. So, they all miss me, and but it's been nonstop. So, is there anything else? More shade for Go High Level. Yeah. All right, so it's 2:00, and so what we're gonna do is we are gonna take a break. We're gonna keep streaming. Okay. We're gonna keep streaming, but we're gonna take a short break, maybe like 20 minutes, and then we're gonna come back. So I'm gonna and so if you still want to hang out with us in 20 minutes, that's cool. But there's like a whole other time zone that's like coming online or going to lunch or whatever that might want to hang out with us, and so we'll be right back in like it's 2:02 right now, so like 2:20, and yeah, you can come hang out with us and ask more questions and see more examples, and hopefully we'll be able to get some new people onto the call. I have another question from Helen. Where do I email my screenshot? Email it to help@groundhogg.io. So just email it to support and we'll have a look at it. You also have a good evening, Jono. Thanks for coming and thanks for interacting and asking all those questions and providing that feedback. It was awesome. And thanks everyone, by the way. So, I mean, Al, Helen, Jono, Mike, Eduardo, Greg, Leonardo, Minnie Mayo. I'm just really sorry if I'm absolutely butchering that. Garrett, Zane, Kenneth, everybody, you know, business of technology. I don't actually know who that is, but thank you for coming and spending some time with us. I really appreciate it. We will be back. So if you want to keep hanging out with us, you can. So we'll see you soon.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow, this is really cool.
This is nice.
Whoa, this is really cool.
Whoa, this is really, really cool.
That's cool. Is that new?
That's crazy.
That's cool.
Ooh, that's sexy.
Oh, you finally went to this version. Okay.
Yeah, the user interface, it looks great.
Nice. That would help lots.
Can I move this here? Oh, I can. Oh, beautiful.
I love the new features that you've added.
I really like the new layout.
I loved working with all the little the user flow thing.
And it's definitely going to make it a lot easier to use.
It's a great experience.
We have, and this is the next game changer here.
No, it's pretty dang polished though.
Beautiful.
Now we're back. Mike is unmuted. If you're joining us for the first time, thanks for joining us. If you're still sticking around from earlier, it's a pleasure to have you. If you are joining us for the first time, go ahead and just drop a comment and let us know that you're here, and so that I can say hi. We're hanging out. We're doing some demonstrations of Groundhogg 4.0 and all the cool stuff that's coming out with that, and I'd love to show it to you. So again, if you're just joining us for the first time, go ahead and give us a comment. And if you're still here and you're still hanging out and you're here from earlier, just comment that you're still here, so that I know that I'm not just shouting into the void. That'd be very helpful. And while you guys do that, I'm going to finish eating my my lunch that I did not finish during the break. You can tell that this is this has turned into casual time. We also got Greg, our resident support, superstar and superhero.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I'm not seeing any comments from new people, so if it's just us hanging out and with Helen. Helen, what do you need?
She sent us a layout for the email that you were talking about earlier, and I sent it to you in Help Scout, so it's there for you if you want.
Do you want to just share your screen and bring it up? I apologize to everyone who just now had to watch me eat pizza, but I'm so hungry.
Share. Did it work? There we go. I guess it worked.
I'd rather not share like the entire help set screen though. Can we just share the sheets, the screenshot?
I wonder how I can do that. Stop screen.
I don't want to air out our dirty laundry for everybody.
I see. Oops, that's not it. Click on it. Change file. Okay, it's up there.
Oh, I don't want to do that either because her email address is in there. All right, I got it. Okay, here we go. Okay, Helen. Where it says run again, there could be an option that says view content, brings up a pop-up of the actual email. So you just want to see like received messages like in the activity timeline. Like you're not, are you like, do you want like the ability to like reply, or do you just want to see that you received an email? Because like if you just want to see, like if you want to see the email content that you sent, you can just click on the link. Like if I share screen, yeah, Helen, if you want to see the content that was sent, you can already do that. So for example, so if you want to see the content of a composed email, what you have to do is you have to go to the email settings and you have to turn on, where is it? Email logging. So you have to make sure email logging is turned on, and you can set the log retention to how many days that you actually want to preserve the email content for. And then once that's on, if I go to just, I don't know, my contact record here, and then I compose an email and I say 4.0 is so cool, this is some email content, and click send, and that shows up here. I can click on this and it shows me the content. So that's already possible. And it does work for email templates too. I see completed, send new email. If I click on that, it shows me the email. Yeah, if I click on that, it shows me the email. If I send a specific template from using this option, send, click on that, shows me the email. So yeah, like you can already see the emails that you've sent, no problem. It's just receiving emails from like inbox integrations. That's tricky, but the actual just like seeing what you've sent, that's real easy. As long as it's sent from Groundhogg. The other thing is that like it's not tracking emails that you send from your inbox, right? So if it's from your inbox, then Groundhogg doesn't necessarily know about it. So hopefully, you know, but if you just want to see what you sent from Groundhogg, then yeah, that's already there. That's been there for a long time. I see that the viewer count has gone up a little bit. So if anybody who's just joining us on the stream wants to pop in and say hi and let us know that you're here, we'd love to interact with you and to make sure that any questions that you have about 4.0 get answered. Helen has another follow-up question about the email template. If I change the email template, I see the current template or the one they actually received. So when you're sending an email template, so given that you have the email logging enabled. So if email log is enabled, Groundhogg only retains the actual log of the content of the email that was sent for whatever your log retention was. So it does not retain it indefinitely. The reason for this is because you're hosting Groundhogg on WordPress, and emails actually take up a fair amount of space. And so if the email log table gets too big, hosts tend to get upset with you, and we don't want your host to be upset with you. And so logs are automatically deleted from the emails log every however long, right? So you can set this to 30, you can set it to 90 if you want it, but eventually like the email logs are going to have to be purged. And so if the log of the email exists, then what the timeline is going to show is it's going to show the actual email that was sent, regardless of any changes to the template. If the log has been deleted, then it's just going to show you a preview of the template that was used, merged with whatever the context current information is. So yeah, if you have it set at 365, then it is going to basically, you have up to a year to see the real content that was sent, basically. Yeah. So hopefully that's helpful. You're welcome, Helen. I feel like everybody else is tired too. We took a break and the energy died. That's what happens when you take breaks, right? But that's okay, because I'm also tired. We're not putting on a show, being real. So connections with Facebook Messenger, Telegram, like you have with Twilio, WhatsApp. It is asking a lot, and I don't know if that's possible, because Telegram is like I was talking about walled gardens earlier. Telegram is basically another walled garden. Facebook Messenger, also a walled garden. Very, very, very difficult to have integrations with either of those platforms, especially from the open source perspective that we're coming from. I don't see that realistically happening ever, unless you can do it through a third party that already has pre-existing integration. Yeah, that's sort of like, you know, open source is lovely until it kind of comes to stuff like that, right? Where you have to be in the SaaS industry and know the right people and rub the right shoulders. But if you're sort of like doing the self-hosted thing, which you should be, because owning your data is important. But sort of the flip side to that is you don't get access to the same walled garden platforms as other people. But that being said, the walled gardens walls come down and go up all the time, right? So like we used to use the Facebook business chat on our website all the time. And a bunch of people made a bunch of integrations for Facebook business chat, right? And they sunk a whole bunch of time, money, development, resources. And know what Facebook did? They killed Facebook business chat. And so anybody that did anything with that is now shit out of luck. And that sucks for them. Not us, because we didn't actually build an integration. We just used it because it was free and it was awesome. But anybody who did, too bad, so sad. And that is why self-hosting is important. I truly believe in building an audience on a platform that you own and you control, because no one can, take that from underneath you. That being said, sometimes you don't really have a choice. Like if you're going to be an influencer, you kind of got to have Instagram, right? Or if you're going to be an influencer, you got to have, or if you're going to be like a streamer, you got to have Twitch or YouTube or whatever, right? So Sometimes you don't really have a choice because, you know, those are the platforms that we use to like have exposure. But if you're doing that, you should at least like siphon off into your own thing, right? Like there's a, like, you know, start hosting like your own site where you also post like private content and streams and stuff. But anyway. Is there anybody else here, or is it just us and Helen? It says that there's people watching the stream. So if you're quiet, just let us know that you're here. Because if it's just Helen, then that's cool too. Adrian is here. I'm also Adrian. So welcome, other Adrian. Adrian Holland. Adrian, were you here for the first half of the stream, or did you just get here? Just popping in and out. That's cool. That's cool. Hong Kong. I didn't know that, actually. That's 2:37 a.m.
37.
All right, so Adrian's tuning in from at 2:37 a.m. So anybody that's not here, like Sasha, who said he couldn't come because it was 6 p.m., should feel bad. Because Adrian is a true champion because he's coming in at 2:37. So thank you, Adrian, for hanging out with us. Is there anything that you want to see or are you curious about 4.0 that you might have not seen yet? Because I'd be happy to sort of help you out and focus on you for a little bit, since it seems to be that it's just a few of us hanging out here at the moment. I think Adrian might have gone to sleep. I wouldn't blame him. 2:37 a.m. I was up till 2:37 a.m. last night too, but for a different reason. I was busy compiling zip files for distribution today. Is what I was doing last night, making sure everything was ready to go at the click of a button, which all went smoothly actually today. I don't think we didn't get any tickets of like sites burning down today, so that's a good day for us. You know, not too shabby. Adrian is not asleep, and he has a question. Not sure if it will benefit us. As you might remember, we use GH for mass newsletter mailings. Not so many automation flows, to be honest. Well, that's okay. Mass, you know, broadcasting is important. We sent broadcasts for the live stream today. He says he has replaced MailChimp and Salesforce. Well, that's good because those are expensive. And they're also not as good, in my personal opinion. So kudos for doing that. We didn't make a ton of new changes to the email builder, but we did actually make a couple, which I think I failed to mention. So actually, why don't I show those small, not huge changes, just little ones. Why don't we bring up our screen back here? And we're gonna go look at our Christmas Eve email. So one of the changes that we made is a bunch of people want to change the footer, which is like a constant thing. They want to remove like the privacy policy and terms links and phone number and whatever, and that's fine. So you can't edit the text directly, but if you're doing the footer, you can now toggle those specific attributes on or off. So now you can do that. So that's cool. So you can turn on those links if you want them in the footer or not. If you want to remove the unsubscribe, you have to change the message type to transactional, and that will remove the unsubscribe. Obviously, only do that if you're actually sending transactional emails, because if you abuse that, that's not good, and you shouldn't abuse it. Could damage your sender reputation. People could complain, mark it spam, right? So you want to send good email, so use message type appropriately. But you can at least toggle these links on and off. It is the only thing that's required. Like this stuff here is required. The unsubscribe is required, right? So you can't remove that or edit it at this point in time. But that's a nice little sort of like small change to the email editor that people have been asking for, wanting to remove that stuff. Everything else, I don't think anything else has changed significantly. I don't know if anybody knows about this feature here though. Convert to post. This is a cool one. But I'm not gonna talk about that right now because Adrian has another question. And of course, Adrian, you can ask any question. We're just hanging out at this point. So if you have questions, feel free to pop in, and unrelated or related to 4.0 or not. If anybody has like a general marketing question, if they just want to know if something's a good idea or not, or they're looking for some strategy ideas, I happen to know a little bit about that as well, if anybody's curious. Is there a way to get total opens on a broadcast report? So I'm assuming what you mean by total opens is if a person has opened an email more than once, to see that as well, is what I'm assuming. Because so if you open an email more than once. So no, not natively to Groundhogg, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, the usage for that metric is not global, right? So Groundhogg is built with the broadest possible audience in mind. And that metric is not necessarily a useful metric because the open rate isn't necessarily a useful metric in and of itself anymore, because of a bunch of the privacy stuff that inboxes have implemented to basically render it a almost useless metric by most standards. The other reason is once you in most inboxes, I'm not talking iCloud, I'm talking Gmail, I'm talking Outlook, most inboxes, the way that the image tracking actually works is they pull in the raw HTML content and it has the image link. And then you open the email, but you don't actually see the raw email content. What the inbox does is they scrape all the links and all of the image assets, and they download that into their cache where they then store it, and they only ping the image to the server where you host Groundhogg once. And then every subsequent time that someone goes to open that email, it's just referencing the inbox's cached version of that image. So even if you go open an email multiple times, it's not reopening the email. They're simply getting the cache version that the inbox has stored locally. And so the implementation of such would be pointless anyway, unless someone's using like a really strange sort of like inbox that doesn't do the caching stuff. And so that's why we don't track individual opens. We only track one open, because it's not an accurate measurement of the total number of opens, right? It's just so we do the one open tracking and we ignore everything else because it's kind of just like bogus or inaccurate. And so like what it would lead to is it would lead to an inflated sense of success, right? And this is a problem in MailChimp. It's a problem in other products as well, where they tell you that you're performing at this level. Like, how many times have you gone to like, I've gone to so many shows and I've talked to so many business owners, like, yeah, my email gets a 60% open rate. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like it doesn't, because what you're seeing is they inflate that rate by attributing the super broad scope of what is an open, right? And I don't ethically or morally sort of like agree with that. I know that's a weird like stance to take. Like, why do I care? Right? What metric do you want to use? Right? But it's like broadest possible audience. What do we want our users to actually see? Do we want to see the most accurate representation of the number of people that actually saw this email, or do we want to show them something else? And so, totally agree with you. Advertisers love metrics. Everyone knows it's BS, but it's still numbers we can report to an advertiser. I guess that's fair, right? Like, if the advertiser doesn't really care whether it's BS and they just want to see the number, then that's one thing. So I mean, I don't see us changing this strategy for a couple of reasons, unless you made a really, really good case. And the biggest reason is that it would create an additional education burden on us for marketing newbies, right? We have to all of a sudden explain the difference between total opens and real opens and the number of contacts that opened, and that's just too much for a newbie to I think it's too much. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not too much. I think it is. It might not be, but that's personally not education that I want to have to give to new customers. I'd rather just be like, this is not the exact, but at least this is the minimum number of contacts that opened your email, because that's really what our number is. It's the minimum number of contacts that at least opened an email, right? Maybe not the total, because you also have to do that click enable images thing in the inbox now as well, in order for the images to load. So it's sort of that floor number, and I find that to be the most, I don't know. It's certainly the easiest number for us as a technology provider to provide. Yeah. Anyway, I hope that makes sense, Adrian. Like, it's just one of like different platforms like do it differently. Like, obviously, if you're a SaaS like MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or whatever, and I'm not saying that they do this, right? Because that might be defamation if it's not actually true. But anecdotally, right? Other providers, other CRMs and marketing automation tools have different ways of measuring opens in sort of like a broader sense that makes that number appear larger than the most accurate representation of it might be. That's my opinion anyway. If you wanted to track every open individually, I'll tell you what you'd have to do. You'd have to go to the Groundhogg source code and go to groundhogg/includes/tracking.php, and you'd have to comment out line 807 and 825 is what you would have to do. And then that would track every open. So you'd have to comment line 807 and 825 in groundhogg/includes/tracking.php if you want to track every individual open. Obviously, that's not a long-term solution, because once we release an update, it overrides that. But theoretically, that would be the solution. Okay. Zane, testing a flow and using a super link in a text message that's sent out via Twilio from, oh my God, we're daisy chaining here. It's offsite. It doesn't work when I'm logged in. Instead, it goes to my preferences page. Yeah, well, so there's the super link, right? Like, so in order for super links and other tracking links to work in Groundhogg actually has to know who's on the site, right? And so if you don't know who's on the site, like Groundhogg doesn't know what to do with that information, right? So it sends them to it either redirects them without like setting in the tracking information or doing anything special. I don't know why you wouldn't just use like Groundhogg's Twilio integration. Like, why do you have to use N8N? I know you're supposed to like say that in a specific way, but I don't remember what it is. Like if you send the text message out using the Twilio integration, it converts the super link in the text message to a tracking link, which then Groundhogg can use to identify the person who's clicking the tracking link, right? You can't do that in an external service. If it works on your wife's phone, Zane, it might be because that as she's browsing the site, she has the Groundhogg tracking cookie set there from a previous session, and that way, so Groundhogg knows because she's already has that tracking cookie. But if you don't have that tracking cookie, then it probably wouldn't work. So the tracking cookie has a TTL of 30 days. And so if she got that somehow by maybe clicking a link in an email in the last 30 days, then it would be able to identify you correctly, right? And so yeah. So if you're outside of that 30-day window, though, then you're kind of out of luck, and you get sort of weird stuff happening to you. That's my theory, anyway. Use Groundhogg's Twilio integration. It got an update today with the new icons and 4.0 compatibility, so it works great. Using the Twilio integration and using to inject an open API. Oh, that's interesting. That's cool. That's interesting. Okay, fair play. Fair enough. Now, now the way that I would approach this, right? The way that I would approach this if I were you is yeah, because you've gotten sort of like a low code, no code kind of way, right? The way that I would approach this is I would go into like, I would create like a code snippet and then filter the SMS content directly from a filter as the action is running. To do your get the content from your AI model and then bring that back and then modify the content within Groundhogg directly so it still does the tracking link stuff, is the way that I would approach this particular problem. Yeah. But that's very cool. Yeah. AI is changing the way that we do things. And it's very, very cool. Garrett wants a tutorial on how to use snippets. So sure, I'll tell you what I do with snippets. So there's two plugins to choose from as far as adding snippets. There's code snippets and there's WP code. Those are the two that I use. I kind of, depending on like what project I'm using, I use code snippets or I use WP code. I don't prefer one over the other. I use them for different use cases. So, you know, things to consider. Who makes each? The people who make the one on the left, code snippets here, are awesome. And they're very cool and very, very fun and interesting and good developers. The one on the right, I don't know them personally, but they are owned by Awesome Motive, right? So you might be familiar with their other products, WP Forms. I don't know if they're outright owned. Yeah, it's Syed Balkh. Yeah, so they're at this point they're outright owned by Awesome Motive. So WP Forms and all of the other products under the Awesome Motive umbrella, which some people have like a vendetta against for whatever reason. I don't know. The guy makes a lot of money, so kudos to him. But there's a lot of telemetry and stuff that happens, and some people aren't into that, and privacy is questionable at best. So choose the one, right? Like if you don't want any phone home scripts, right? If you don't want anybody tracking what's going on in your website, use the one on the left. If you want a really, really pretty UI and some conditional logic stuff and AI built into like generating AI code snippets directly from within WordPress, use this one. And if you don't, but you're sacrificing some other stuff. For the record, the one that we use on Groundhogg.io is WP Code. I use a lot of Syed's products, as a matter of fact. And we also pay for WP Code Pro as well. I really like it. I think it works really, really well. But code snippets on the left here, just as good for most use cases. It's just it's not as flashy in terms of the UI, I think. But yeah, like if you're a developer, right? Who really cares? It's like we use IDEs, right? So we use like PHP Storm and VS Code and whatnot. I'm a PHP Storm guy personally. I don't use Visual Studio Code. I like PHP Storm. I've been using it since I was in university. So anyway, nobody cares about that though. So once you've got WP Code or whatever, I'm going to install WP Code because it's what I'm most familiar with. Add snippet. You can choose from their library. You can ignore all that, add custom snippet. And then you're going to put in a PHP snippet. All right, so this is where your snippets go, or your code or whatever. We have lots of snippets to choose from. These are all getting updated and moved soon because of our new documentation site that we are starting. So under code examples, there's a bunch of different stuff here. Adding a tag on an action, for example. This is so ugly. This is all getting changed. But we'd copy that. And then we would put that here. Make sure that we're not double opening PHP. So based on whatever action that you're running on Groundhogg, this is just an example, but like purchase a product. So we get a customer and the order. We create a bunch of tags that we want to add. We try to get the current contact, or we can get the current contact from another way, like from the customer email address. And then we apply the tags to the contact. Here, let's expand this a little bit so we have a little bit more room to look. Apply the tags to the contact, email, first name, create the contact, boom, all done. So these are two different options. So this is option B, retrieving the name. So this is probably the one that I would go with. Getting the name directly from the order or the customer or whatever. Create the contact, apply the tags. Well, relatively straightforward. Yeah. Garrett wants to know specifically, I want to have a trigger for the change of a custom field drop-down value. So, I mean, if you were going to do that, let's go to flows for a moment. Let's add a new flow. Start from scratch. Field changed flow. All right. So if you wanted to trigger a change for a custom field drop-down value, one of the ways that you could do that in a low code way, low code, not no code, is we would use our field changed trigger. And this could be any custom field. I'm just going to put foobar there. And you could select it to say if it's equal to something specific or it's just changed in general. And then what you would do is you would use the plugin API action. And then this is going to give you some code. And so we can go ahead and we can copy that. We can go to our code snippets and we can paste that in. And now what happens is whenever the step runs using this call name here, oh, not here. I have too many tabs open. Let's go ahead and close everything else here. There we go. We have the step open here. So whenever the call name here, which is this, this is randomly generated by default at the beginning, but you could change this to my custom field is changed, for example. And then that's going to update the code snippet, ideally. Did it? I don't think it did. Do I have to? There we go. Yeah, so my custom field is changed. And then we could use that instead. And now this function is going to be called, just make sure that this function name doesn't conflict with anything that's actually already registered. It's going to give you a couple of variables. We check, and then we can do something else. So we could like send like a post request here, or we could apply a tag, or we could do anything. But it basically gives us the contact record itself, and we can use any of the methods. You can use any of Groundhogg's methods at this point, or any of Groundhogg's built-in functionality. But we can now do something, essentially. So this would be like the low-code way, because it just gives you the code snippet and whatever the thing is, and you can put conditional logic on this, right? So you could like filter out specific like conditions and makes that really easy. You could also hook directly into the metadata API in WordPress to track when the thing is changed. But this, I mean, this gives you like tracking and stuff as well, and you can do follow-up actions with it. So there might be something to doing it this way. Zane asks, can you explain how you use a code snippet that can filter the AI response a little bit? That sounds interesting, and I didn't think of that. Yeah. So something that you could do, right, is if you're just sending a text message, do I have SMS installed? No, I don't. So let's go ahead and do that. Flows. Or no, I want to go to extensions. And we will install our SMS add-on. There we go. And we will go to flows. We'll add another one. And we'll start from scratch. AI SMS. So the way that this, I think I would do this specifically, Zane, is I would do the following. I would send a webhook request to N8N to get the API response, or the AI response, right? And then you can send your text message, AI SMS. You could then save the AI response into a custom field in the contact record. And so it might be like AI message here. And then you put your super link here. If you're generating the super link within the AI message, if you just, it'll still do the tracking links as well. Right? And so this way, what happens is we send the request out, we get the AI message based on whatever parameters you want. It comes back, and then we're basically just like merging that directly into an SMS. But that way, when it runs directly through SMS, it does all the tracking links and whatever other stuff that it needs to do. So that's probably the way that I would approach this if I was trying to do it. You could also do like an actual code snippet. I actually think this is probably better, doing it this way. Garrett is asking, can we get the deal ID when created, submitted via API or webhook? Yeah, you can. The deal ID is returned as part of the response. So yeah, absolutely. If you have the pipelines add-on installed, which I do here, go to Tools, REST API playground, deals. We want to create a deal. Let's create multiple deals. We just want to create a single deal, create a deal. Part of the ID. It returns the ID, right? Yeah. That's actually not part of the example response, but it does return the ID. So it should be there, but it's not for whatever reason. But it does return the ID.
No deal yet. So.
Create deals. Is it part of the create deals one? Yeah. So yeah, it's just capital ID, right? Part of the response. Yeah. Oh, that's because this is an example. That's the request, not the response. This is, yeah. So create an ID. Yeah. Garrett has a follow-up question, but I'm not really sure I understand entirely. Right. Okay, so we're back to notes for deals and stuff, etc. We're gonna be adding that in the future. So like if you just want to be patient instead, then you can just be patient. And we can add that for you in the future. When creating a deal in the funnel, the ID is not given back. Yeah, when you're using the create deal action. Yes, I know that. And there's not currently a way to get that from the create deal action. But there will be, and we will be creating it in the future. So just if you want to bear with us as we add that stuff in the future, then there you go. But no, you can't. Currently, the create deal action does not return the ID of the deal created anywhere. But it will. Okay. Alrighty. I think we can call it. Been streaming for like 3 hours. What do you think? What do you think, Greg?
Yep.
Yeah. If there's a last call for stuff, for help, for requests for tutorials or explanations, and if we're good, then we're gonna call it a day, and we'll be back tomorrow because more people are gonna be curious. So. Thank you, Adrian. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. It's been a few hours. I appreciate you hanging in there and asking questions and participating. We do this for you. Like we're not doing this for ourselves. Lord knows. We do this for you. And we are grateful that you continue to choose to use Groundhogg for your business. We're grateful for the amount of feedback and the feature requests and everything that you give to us, because without that, there is no growth, there is no innovation, there's no evolution. And so I am grateful for all of Garrett's feature requests and everybody else's. 4.0 was a massive undertaking. A massive investment of money and time, and I hope you like it, because it was a lot of work. Did I mention that? I think I did a couple times. Thank you, everyone. We are going to see you tomorrow. Probably not for a full 4 hours, but maybe for an hour here or there. And we're gonna be streaming because people have questions, and I'm sure as people update overnight and in the morning, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, what?" So. We'll be around. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Greg, help@groundhogg.io. And thank you so much for being a customer. If you have a moment and you haven't already left a review for Groundhog, please go to our WordPress.org repository listing and leave a review for Groundhog 4.0 and tell people how awesome it is. I would really appreciate it. My name is Adrian Tobey. I'm the founder of Groundhog. This is Greg Franklin with me. He was our support superstar. Thank you for hanging out with us. We love you. See you tomorrow.